So today, finally, after years and years of waiting, it was announced that Trump's taxes are going to become public and therefore almost certainly reveal aspects of his financial life that he'd rather were not known. Now, this topic has been on the table for quite some time because you'll recall that his organization was convicted already in large measure because of tax fraud and insurance fraud. This goes to the eighth house in any chart, eighth house, eighth sign order, which in his chart is the Pisces house, and Neptune has been in these degrees for quite some time. And notice that in December of this year, 2022, Neptune stations in those very degrees earlier in the month, though effectively is still operating from that range, therefore correlates quite precisely with this event. The other thing is that the other ruler of that house is Jupiter. You could actually say it's the primary ruler. And it's interesting to see that it just entered Aries today. And as it now makes its way into the early Aries degrees, by the time it gets to 4 degrees, 5 degrees, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that goes through his infamous axis Hollywood T-square, which you'll recall back in the summer was very unfavorable for him, both in the way things were developing around the revelations of the January 6th committee, and then ultimately in August when we had the FBI enter Mar-a-Lago looking for documents that shouldn't have been there. And so now Jupiter is making its return through those degrees, and that in part is also these taxes because the Jupiter rules that house. So on the one hand, you could say there could be embarrassment in there going into the early part of the new year, though I suspect that this Jupiter movement into those degrees is bigger than that, because as you also may have noticed, all kinds of things are going wrong for this guy now on multiple levels, including the political level where his numbers are dropping, which of course he hates. But this thing with the taxes is likely to be very embarrassing because people have speculated for years and years that he's not nearly as rich as he says, which is something that he's incredibly attached to, being seen as a multi-billionaire, or maybe nothing like that at all in terms of what he actually declares. I doubt that we're going to see something extremely catastrophic from whatever is in these returns, but I see it as yet another cut in the death by 1,000 cuts that he's being forced to endure. And, it's something that his chart reflects quite accurately because of the connection to the house I mentioned, that eighth sign, and that Neptune is in those degrees, Jupiter, the ruler, is going up to a tricky spot. And notice that in astrology, you always look back to where does a planet come from in the beginning. Both these planets come from the third sign, Libra. The most important here would have to be the Neptune, because the Neptune is part of that T-square with Eris and Mercury. And so as a result, when planets transit to it, you know that there will be difficult developments along the lines of what does that planet rule in the chart? Well, the planet rules the eighth, co-rules the eighth. So if you put pressure on it, you get problems from that house. And that is where the Jupiter is going as we move into the new year. So all of that forms the picture, and we're going to find out some juicy details about his numbers. I guess this represents a kind of Christmas gift for the Orange Menace. And once again, what can you say, because it happened to a nicer guy.